Everyone experiences times where our emotions get the better of us. So in this video, we're going to talk about 3 tips that we can apply immediately in our lives that can help us better handle our emotions. We all know the negative impact that our outbursts, our emotions can have, or even just losing our cool can have on how we feel and how it impacts the relationships around us. We all know that this is a negative thing. This is something that hasn't typically gone well for us in the past, which is why we need some guidance and some help in these areas of our lives. So here brings me to this really critical truth. We need to handle our emotions, or our emotions will handle us. In other words, if we don't get a handle on this, then everything we do in life is going to be reactive, it's going to be reactionary, it's not going to go well for us, and we're going to have these outbursts that we typically don't appreciate, and neither do others. So, if we don't handle our emotions will handle us. Now, if we're not going to catch this, if we don't internalize this truth, and if we don't internalize perhaps this teaching, then what we're going to find is that we're going to damage relationships around us, we're not going to have a high level of contentment in our lives, and we're going to live in the past, that all those past hurts are going to just continually keep coming up and haunting us. So, 3 tips that we can apply immediately that will have a dramatic impact on our emotions and our ability to be able to handle our emotions. So tip number 1 would be this: respond, don't react. Before reacting to a situation, maybe a tiny little tool could be just taking a step back for a moment and asking yourself, why am I feeling what I'm feeling? How did it get this way? Is it something that is coming up from my past? What am I feeling? What just happened in this situation? How am I being offended? What's causing me to feel defensive? What is getting my emotions rising and causing me not to respond in a way that I would like to respond? The first tip is respond, do not react. Take a step back and ask yourself some leading questions. Ask the why questions. Why am I feeling what I am feeling? And instead of poking at the other person or pointing at the other person to be that determining factor as to why you feel the way you do, take a little look inwards. What is it that was said? What is the tone that was used? What is it that they did that is causing you to feel this way? And own your part in it. You know, are you imposing something on them that you shouldn't? Do you have an unrealistic expectation that you probably shouldn't have? Ask yourself the why questions. Why am I responding, or why am I reacting the way I'm reacting to this? Point number 1, respond, do not react. Second tip is really straightforward. It's focus on truth. Focus on truth. Does the situation intend to harm me? I mean, the reality is that when we have our emotions rise, usually it's with people that we care very deeply about. They usually see those sides of us that we don't typically show other people. And so focus on the truth in it. Is what they're saying true? Is what they're saying intended to be harmful? Is what's taking place in the environment something that is conducive to a conversation, or is it time for you to have a bit of a timeout to take a look at what's actually going on? Focus on the truth. And maybe you feel as though this person with you is being harsh with you. Okay, the truth is that this person probably cares very deeply about you, and that's where we need to focus our attention. Is it a relationship that maybe it's a marriage, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a child, but there is love in that relationship, and so the truth is this is a loving relationship, and so approach it from that perspective. Focus on the truth. What's my history with this person? Is there a history with this person that is a history of offense? Is this a person that personalities, they just clash? Okay, take a step back and look at that and try to figure out, okay, what are you bringing to the table that's helping make that happen so that you can slow down your own response to it. Focus on the truth. How did whatever it was that was getting communicated get communicated? Was it yelled at? Was it just a statement? Was it a snide remark? What was it? Identify what's taking place. And then, of course, asking yourself, am I responding out of an insecurity? What's the truth in it? Am I responding because I feel insecure about who I am? They're saying something that's raising that level of insecurity, and so I'm going to lash out at them? It's not a great way to live. Take a step back. What's the insecurity? Focus on truth. And often our insecurities, they're just lies that we believe about ourselves. Maybe we believe that we're not able to be loved or not able to be forgiven for something or just not liked or any of these other kinds of things that creep into our minds. But none of those things are true. We are loved people. We are liked and we're respected by very many people in our lives. So focus on truth. The third one would be this: measure your response. And by that, what I mean is consider how it is that you want to be known for responding. There's a fantastic Bible passage from Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Now, the author of the book of Ephesians is a guy by the name of Paul. And Paul is one of the guys who's written so much of the New Testament. But right here, he's talking about what it means to live as children of light, or the people of the way, or Christ's followers. And he says, "Let no unwholesome word proceed from your mouth, but only that which is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that all those who listen may benefit." So here's the question. In your response back to whomever it is that you're interacting with, are your words helpful or hurtful? Are they helpful or hurtful? The hurtful ones are easy to identify, right? That's when we respond out of spite. That's when we respond defensively often. What would it look like to respond in a helpful way? To bring some healing to this situation or to have a better conversation. Measure your response because you own it. Nobody makes you respond the way that you do. You own that. That is your responsibility. And so if you don't handle your emotions will handle you. Now, if we do this, we will have relationships that are going to be built up rather than damaged. We're not going to allow the past to dictate our present or our future, and we're going to be more content in life. You hear that? All of these things take place with just these 3 simple little tools on how we can communicate better regarding our emotions. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think back to a time when you were offended. And I want to ask you to ask yourself some of those why questions. Why did I respond the way I did? What was going on? What exactly happened in that scenario? Was there something from my past that is now informing my present? Ask yourself some of those questions to help you figure out what's actually in fact taking place so that you can respond and not react. Now, what's the truth in the situation? What truth do you need to own? And what truth do you need to lean towards? What lie do you need to walk away from so that you're able to lean into the truth of situations and be able to be built up and help others? And then, of course, lastly, evaluate how you responded. Was it helpful or was it hurtful? That's important. Was it helpful or was it hurtful? Now, some of you out there might say, well, I didn't respond at all. Let me offer this to you. No response is a response, and it's often not taken well. Usually it's a form of rejection. We shut down, they feel rejected, and then the relationship in terms of communication within it gets damaged. If I could offer this to you, if you're in a place in the relationship, in a friendship or whatever relationship it is, and you just don't feel like you're able to communicate at that point, then inform that person of that exact thing. I just can't talk about this right now. I want to, but I'm not ready yet. But I will let you know when I'm ready to talk about this. Knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently in that situation? When you think back onto the situation that I just had you think back on, what would you have done the same? Maybe there's some things that you did really well in that situation. Why should I do this? Look, the reality is that when we're talking about tips in life and trying to build forward into a more productive life, a more content life, a more honorable life, and we ask ourselves things like, why should I do this? It's simple. If you don't handle your emotions will handle you. That's why we do this, because we don't want to be governed by our emotions. We don't want to be kind of going off the handle every time some little thing happens in life. So if you don't handle your emotions will handle you. And I know that you're able to do this. I know that you can handle your emotions. So why should I do this? If you don't handle your emotions will handle you. And I know that you want to handle these things. I know that you want to respond rather than react. I know you want to say helpful things rather than hurtful things. And I know that you want to lean into truth rather than the lies that you might be buying into. So with that in mind, just remember that if you don't handle your emotions, they're going to handle you. And you have everything you need to be able to handle them and live content, productive, and build into the relationships that you have. Hey, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you gained a little bit of wisdom for the day. If you liked anything or anything kind of struck you in this particular talk, then I'd invite you to just say so in the comments below. Let me know what you're thinking and let me know what kinds of things you were able to walk away with. If you found this helpful, then I would encourage you to just share it with somebody else that you think might also find it helpful. And consider subscribing, so then that way anytime I post a new video, you'll be automatically notified letting you know that a new video, a new little kernel of wisdom has been uploaded.